Hello, I'm Nathan from Serious Geeks, and this video is going to be about 2 wound Space Marines and what that means for Warhammer 40,000. You'll have to forgive the tardiness of this video because I've been away for the past week and therefore have been unable to make any videos. Also, I'm sporting an injury to my tongue, believe it or not, so I'm unable to make videos very easily and my speaking is a little bit laboured. As I am sure most people are aware already, Space Marines of all types, as long as they're fully fledged, so that probably implies Scouts will not get this benefit, Space Marines of all types will get 2 wounds basic on their profile as a bare minimum. This means all Classic Marines, or Firstborn, or Original Marines, depending on where you stand. At this point I'm going to go with Firstborn, since that is what the Warhammer community article actually refers to the Classic Original Space Marines as. As confirmed in the article, all Space Marines will get 2 wounds minimum on their profile. This means Terminators are going up to 3 wounds, as has been confirmed. Other units, such as Bikers, will have more wounds, depending on whether they are Primaris or not, as we will see coming in the next few months. What this means is that Space Marine armies are now going to be a truly elite force, reminiscent of Adeptus Custodes. Scouts notwithstanding, the cheapest troops choice will be Tactical Marines, confirmed to be 18 points a model, and they will have 2 wounds apiece. We don't know whether their bolters will stay the same. There is a rumour that their bolters will go to a range of 30, but this as of yet is unconfirmed because the only evidence we have of this is a bolter for a veteran Space Marine that is in the Space Marine Command Box datasheet. Ignoring any potential changes to bolters, we will see Space Marine Tactical Marines with 2 wounds, which to me is a very positive change. Space Marine Tactical Marines will generally be a tough force to remove on the tabletop. They will not be able to be removed any quicker than what you would do with Primaris Marines. The beauty of it is, I don't actually think that Tactical Marines and Intercessors will eclipse each other anymore. Tactical Marines, at 2 wounds apiece, will be the unit you use to hold objectives and take a bit of board control. They'll be able to lend their fire support to the rest of the army, but they won't quite have the bolter fire that Intercessors have, and they won't be as good up close in close combat because they will have 1 attack less. For the Intercessors themselves, Intercessor units will have a very defined role. No longer will they be inefficiently used to hang back and put bolter shots on the enemy. Instead, you'll have a better unit for doing that, the Tactical Marines. So instead, Intercessors will go forwards. They'll march forward, putting their shots on the enemy, trying to engage in close combat and otherwise swamp objectives, target saturation, or just the opponent's army in general. As for the other troops choices, Infiltrators and Incursors both have rather unique and specified roles that Tactical Marines don't even come close to taking. Therefore, the competition is just not there. Overall, I don't really believe that Tactical Marines are going to hurt any of the other options in the Primaris line, particularly in the troops choices. Each player will have their preferences. I quite like the heavy and special weapons that I get from Tactical Marines. I've been using them anyway, and I've had some good success with them. However, with 2 wounds apiece, I don't mind them going to a bit more expensive because I kind of like the fact that they will feel like the Primaris line did and be super tough, Space Marines. Likewise, there'll be players who only use Primaris Marines. I know players who only use Intercessors, and that is because they really enjoy the extra range of their bolters, the extra pip of AP. They enjoy the whole feel of them, and they enjoy getting up close to have those 2 attacks base really doing a number on the opponent. And that is a legitimate way to play the game. As for other units in Codex Space Marines, such as Devastators, well, we already see a lot of Devastators anyway. They're very powerful. And with the weapon changes, we might even see all heavy bolter Devastators, you never know, instead of just grav cannons. Heavy weapons are always cheaper on infantry because they don't get the benefit to ignoring the -1 to hit when they move. However, their weapons are also very effective. They're just as effective as all the other weapons, and as an Ultramarines player I get 2 turns where I can move like that, so I'm very happy. 2 wound Devastators are going to be very powerful, and we will see just about in every Space Marine army list at least 1 unit of these. I think this does hurt Hellblasters a little bit. Hellblasters need a bit of a hand. I think they will change in the next edition. The next Codex Space Marines will see a change to their rules, simply because 5 plasma guns that can rapid fire, of course, quite long ranges, it's just not going to be as good as grav cannons and the same amount of wounds. And you don't really want to be charging into assault with Devastator-esque units such as Hellblasters anyway, because you want to be shooting each term of them. Hellblasters have fallen out of favour because you have things like Eliminators. Eliminators are very powerful, they're very useful at killing characters, and that is not to be sniffed at. I know a couple of players who've lost all their characters within a couple of turns just because of the enemy had 6 Eliminators, and that was in the tournament. Other infantry with 2 wounds now will be Space Marine Command Squads, or Company Veterans as they're commonly known nowadays. Them and Stern Guard are going to be very powerful in the tabletop. They are essentially just as good in close combat as intercessors, and they either have better bolters or access to different kinds of weapons, so you can really customise the unit. In this case of Company Veterans, you can make a really characterful unit. We've mentioned Terminators. Terminators are going to be incredibly powerful in this edition. 3 wounds, transhuman physiology stratagem, which I'm sure will be here to stay, and the fact that they have very survivable armour and the ability to teleport is going to make this unit very dangerous. I really am looking forward to get my Terminators in on the action in some tournament play, and we'll see what happens. The last unit was fairly competitive anyway. Vanguard Veterans, the ones with the jump packs, they are very tasty. They've always been good in close combat, access to storm shields and multiple close combat weapons, and now with 2 wounds apiece, they're going to be even more dangerous. A 2 wound per model jump pack unit is incredibly potent on the tabletop. Just look at the Sanguinier Guard. On that note, we do have Assault Marines. I'm still not sold that Assault Marines are going to be worthwhile, simply because why take them when you can take Vanguard Veterans? They might have a place in armies, but I don't know. They don't really. They feel like they've been eclipsed by Vanguard Veterans for quite some time, and unless they get a massive points drop, and for some reason we can't take as many Vanguard Veterans simply because of their position in the Force Organisation chart, that's old speak for detachment rules. We're just not going to see Assault Marines, I really think. It is a shame I can't see anyone purchasing Assault Marines when they can have Vanguard Veterans. They've been eclipsed for quite some time, and the appeal there is going to be forever. I've always loved Assault Marines, so yeah, I do see that as a shame, but I can't see any changes whatsoever right now that have been affected or hinted at that could save them. On that note, I don't really think you're going to see many Reavers. Why would you take Reavers when you could take Vanguard Veterans? They're going to have the same amount of attacks, better weapons, jump packs, and they're going to have the same amount of wounds. Not only that, they could have storm shields. So again, yeah, I think the elite choices are going to basically eclipse some other choices in the army. There are some outliers like bikers. We don't know how attack bikes and normal bikers are going to be affected by this change. I presume they're both going to go up by a wound. The attack bike already has 4 wounds, which implies it doesn't need to because, 2 people on the bike, 4 wounds, makes sense. So, I mean, that's just my view on what's going to happen in the actual army itself. As I say, most of the unit choices are not going to eclipse any others in the Space Marine army. But there will be a few that suffer. I mean, Reavers haven't been selected anyway, mostly because of Vanguard Veterans being superior, and I just think that's going to be doubled down in the next Codex. Reavers need power swords, each and every one of them, but then if you're going to take Reavers with power swords, why would you take Blade Guard? Because although the Blade Guard would have more survivability, you could have a lot more Reavers for a lot cheaper, and they've got better deployment options. So there's a bit of a problem there. Overall, I don't think it's any problems for the Primaris fans. I don't think it's any problems for the Classic or Firstborn fans. The extra wound is just going to help the entire army as a whole, and I think the most effective army is probably going to take a mixture of both. But now it doesn't matter if you don't. Looking at the future of the army, I can quite see a lot of people converting some units up to use, as an example, Primaris bodies to make a Vanguard veteran squad, simply because they have 2 wounds now already, and if they've got jump packs and close combat weapons, it's fairly obvious who they are. This is great. I think conversions and kit ration is an excellent idea. I'm always supporting it. I also think plenty of Firstborn Marine fans are going to be very happy with this change, and maybe those players will run out and buy more Primaris just because they don't feel like they have to support the Firstborn at the expense of the new boys. So again, I think it's a very positive change in that regard. Bit of controversy. I don't believe it's a negative change for Xenos and other armies and factions. Why do I say this? Well, it's not through a lack of empathy. It's because you're already dealing with Primaris models. If you're already dealing with Primaris, you're used to fighting Marines with 2 wounds. Therefore, you should be able to up your game against the Firstborn as well, because you're already killing Firstborn and Primaris equally. The main exceptions to this would be the Vanguard veterans and Terminators. These units are not like Primaris in that they are either super tough, a lot tougher than most Primaris units, or they have better deployment options or speed. However, both of them will change a Space Marine army quite substantially. If you're used to facing aggressors, for example, who are toughness 5, 3 wounds apiece, and can fire out more bolters than any other unit in the game, you're probably used to your infantry getting minced. If you're coming up against Terminators in comparison, your infantry won't get as killed as quickly, and you'll be up against models that are essentially slower on the tabletop once they've been deployed, and they still only have 3 wounds. However, they're a bit tougher to kill. So it's just slightly different tactical options, and probably units that are better suited to getting up close. Same with the Vanguard veterans. They're a unit designed to get up close. By its very nature, they suffer attrition. As such, they're a very different unit to tackle. They're going to be getting up close, they're going to suffer a lot of losses, and they're not going to be wiping you out with shooting. This means they're not going to be dominating the game at all stages of it. They're only going to be useful when they're in close combat, or when they're threatening to get into close combat. Therefore, you have a chance to outmaneuver them, you have a chance to actually impose your game on them. So, as far as Vanguard veterans are concerned, and they are very susceptible to mortal wounds, I don't think it's going to be negative for the game. I think it will change Space Marine armies to be more close in. There'll be more use of actual assault forces rather than just people rely on shooting forces, which will help players who want to actually engage in the enemy on their own terms. Genestealer Cult, for example, they would probably welcome the idea of Vanguard veterans jumping in because they can flood them with bodies where their close combat weapons will not make much of a difference. Genestealers will eat things with storm shields almost as readily as without. Orcs, well, if a mob of orcs charges another unit and they've got about 60 attacks, they're going to kill them whether they are Primaris 2 wounds, single wounds, or even probably 3 wounds. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Also, one of the things that Games Workshop were very keen to show us from the Warhammer community article was that a lot of weapons are changing. As we know, Space Marines are going to get things like heavy bolters that are going up to 2 wounds, which, guess what they kill? 2 wound Space Marines very easily. Likewise, they showed us the Triarch Praetorians, who also have incredibly powerful weapons in close combat and shooting that are going up to 2 damage. So I really am confirmed in my mind that we're going to see a lot of weapons that can kill Space Marines fairly easily, which is going to be very powerful for everyone on the tabletop, and you're going to see a twist towards this when it comes out, because these weapons are also good at killing vehicles. So there you have it, that's my view on it. In summary, I'm incredibly happy for these changes. It makes Space Marines all elite, it puts us all on the same book, in the same page, and we're all going to be very happy playing together. Ill feeling has almost disappeared online overnight, and I think that is probably the most positive aspect of this change. What's more, I get to use my Tactical Marines really effectively, and I've always used units that a lot of people thought weren't so powerful. So, as a fluff player, background supporter, I'm very happy. Terminators, here we go. Please let me know in the comments below what you think. Try to be nice to each other. We're all in the hobby together. If we don't agree, that's fine. I know this is a controversial subject. However, I think most people are on the same page. It's going to be good. So I'm quite confident of that. Please like and subscribe, spread the channel. And like I said earlier, I will have to excuse my tongue. This has been absolutely awful. I can't talk properly, but I'll be back with another video soon, most likely how the 2 wounds are affecting other armies such as Chaos Space Marines and Grey Knights, as well as potentially Death Watch. I'll catch you all soon, and peace out.